In this, I'm going to talk about a efficient method to convert your stories into convincing interview answers. And I'm actually going to talk about a three-step process to achieve this goal. So the first step of this process would be to basically have your idea transformed into a brain dump of several pages with basically everything you can remember about it. Of course, with the main goal that you have as much intelligence as possible for the next steps. Okay, so for example, if you have something on lines of a project you've done in the past of spotting potholes in Seattle using AI software mounted on garbage trucks, then now is the best time to basically write down as much as you can remember about that experiment. Okay, how many trucks were involved, what was your key contribution in this project, maybe what were some results, how big was your team, when did this happen, what was some interesting qualifiers for success for this operation. And basically, the main reason why I'm asking you to do this brain dump is because what happens is in job interviews, probably contrary to most of you would expect, in job interviews, people lack enough detail and the right metrics and talking about what actually matters for the purpose of their story, basically to sell yourself on your strength. And you'll see from next steps that this is a key element of this whole thing, right? So long story short, the first method, the first step here would be to write into as much detail as you can about your story, right? Second step here, to basically convert a previous work experience into a great interview answer, would be to think, what are some key behaviors that you think you're showcasing using this story? So, for example, if we take the spotting potholes in Seattle story, one key behavior that comes to mind here would be inventiveness. Okay, so by coming up with that software, with that AI to spot potholes, that's an invention basically you had, right? This would be an example of a key behavior you'd like to sell yourself on using this story. Okay, now that you have the behavior invention, what's a common interview question for invention? For example, what's your most recent invention, right? And basically your story, now presented in the form as a brain dump, would be an actual perfect example of a time when you came up with something innovative, right? Just a quick note here. If you'll receive in a job interview questions such as what's your most recent invention, and your spotting potholes in Seattle would be your best invention, but you had just another one last week, which is not so interesting, which one would you go with for the purpose of a job interview? And to help you here a little bit, maybe the best candidate in a behavioral interview is the one with the best stories. Okay, so hopefully I made myself clear on which story should you use, right, for what's your most recent invention, right? So this would be the second step. The second step would be to decide what are you selling yourself on using the story that you just made the brain dump for. And in this case would be inventiveness. Could be others too. Could be a dive deep if you want. Could be working through ambiguous situations if you want. It depends, but I'm just exemplifying here. So basically you take that behavior, you take that interview question, and you would transform your story, your brain dump, into a STAR answer. Okay, situation, task, action, and result. All right, and by transforming your brain dump into such a STAR answer, you ensure that you only give the interesting, the important bits of information to your interviewer, right? So you're preparing only what matters for the purpose of job interview, right? And if you're wondering, okay, Dan, but you just asked me to waste my time making a brain dump of several pages. Well, I did not, because what happens in job interviews, the number one problem is that people cannot remember all the more relevant details. And also what happens from experience here is that you don't know exactly all the details and the more interesting details. So when you have a wide range of options that brain dump to choose from, then your star answer would become far more qualitative as compared to just coming up with a star answer on the spot, right? So situation, task, action, and result. Now, also you should know here that situation and task usually go hand in hand. So it's, you could take that as advice to maybe speed up the process if you want. In some cases, it doesn't make sense to talk about the task for as long, or the situation for that purpose. Also, some people prefer to call the task an obstacle or a challenge if you want. It's pretty much the same thing. So do however you feel it's best in your case. But long story short, the second step of this transformation is to transform your brain dump into a star answer, your story into a star answer, right? And finally, the third step, and oftentimes a consuming step from experience, would be to further polish up and to revise your star answers. And usually this happens using challenge questions, probing and challenge questions, actually. When did this happen? Were you the key driver in this project? What was your unique contribution? Okay, were there any learnings from this experience? And just to name a few examples of these probing and challenge questions. And this third step of actually revising your story, which you can do multiple times, by the way, is also one where people get the best clarity of thought in their answers. So if until now you were in the first step trying to brainstorm for as much as possible with a brain dump, in the second step trying to make it a template within the star format, now you're getting it ready for the actual interview, and not only fitting into a template and remembering all the details, but also focusing on things such as clarity of thought. So this is why it's maybe relevant that you try to maybe ensure that you included some relevant metrics, only the relevant ones. You would want to rephrase a couple of elements here and there, and basically, the moment you rehearse it a little bit, it will become far more clear as to what works best for you. And just to give another idea here for a revision on top of the probing and challenge questions, you could even ask ChatGPT to reword your answer. I've actually found it as a quite valuable initiative, on the condition, of course, you first have the story and the answer yourself. So just to recap here, the three-step process. First, you make a brain dump of as much as you can remember for that story, which is hugely important and worthwhile every bit of your time investment. Second, you convert it into a star format. And third, you revise that using probing challenge questions and even ChatGPT if you want. So these would be the three steps that I found essential if you want to have truly convincing first answers in job interviews. I hope you found this information useful, and thank you very much for watching.